So there was an excellent question asked the other night at our small group, at our leaders meeting. And the question was, Matt, what do I do with these people that are never going to lead a small group? And I know exactly what was meant. I think about one of the first guys I ever discipled. I was a college pastor, not much out of college myself, and I'm leading this college and career group. And I just had this one guy. I'll give you his first name. His name is Caleb. And he was just about the most socially awkward guy that you're ever going to meet. And Caleb had maybe no followers in that group. And Caleb interacted with people in strange ways. And he just was, I think all churches have a few Calebs there. And he just, even to this day, we still keep in loose contact. There's not a lot of people tuning in to see what Caleb is posting on social media. But I'd offer that doesn't mean that nobody is following Caleb. And so what does the church do with the Calebs? You fill in the blank, whoever pops into your mind as we talk about that personality type. What is the church supposed to do? Are they supposed to stay in the group and just be a follower for the next 50 years and never grow? The truth is that some people are going to need more attention than others. Some of you have had amazing, talented people come in your group, and you knew you were going to keep them for very long because God was going to raise them up to the next level, and they were going to be sent out, and they maybe are small group leaders themselves now. Perhaps they're even church staff or pastors or deacons, and they're serving somewhere else. So those folks are going to take a little bit less of your time and your energy. The Calebs of the world sometimes take a little bit more, and the truth is they may not ever be able to host a group in their home. They may not ever be able to lead one of our on-campus groups. And that's super true. That doesn't mean that there's not one person that would follow them from their job, from their neighborhood. And look, and those are super tangible ways. With technology now, our net is so far expanded. There are communities, online communities with gamers within our church. And this may be way foreign to you. And I'm not a video game guy myself, so I don't really, it's hard for me to empathize. But I do know there is a strong community of grown-ups who play video games, and they will never meet one another. But they may meet up every night at 8 p.m. to play, I don't even know what the names of the video games are, Mario Brothers. So I'm sure that's not it. But they will meet up and they'll play Mario. So communities are really forming in different ways these days. So what do we do with a Caleb? We lead Caleb, we challenge Caleb, we encourage Caleb, and we empower him to, when God sends him someone, that he's able to disciple them. I'd also offer up, think about churches in incredibly rural areas that are, there were towns in Texas when I used to live there. You would drive by that town, and I'm not making this up, Burke, Texas, population, it was like 118. So in many cases, you are going to be discipling your family members, your children. But think about that for a second. Well, amen to that. Shouldn't a mother and a father be qualified and able to lead their children? That would be a huge win for us as a staff and a church family, to see our people rising to a level spiritually that they can lead their own children to Christ. That's not a bad thing. So what do we do with the Calebs of the world? We do the same thing we do with everyone else. And we recognize that people have limitations. So the question is, have you ever been discipled? And I don't know, you'd have to answer that for yourself. I hadn't been until I'd entered into a church planting stage of my ministry, and I had a planting pastor come around me. He spoke at our church last fall, Pastor Jason Stockton. He was very blunt and was like, "Hey, bro, I just want you to know, it seems to me like you've got no idea what you're doing. And I want you to meet with me once a week, and we're gonna connect, and I'm gonna disciple you because I feel like you'll probably fail miserably." And he was super right. We continue that relationship on to this day. We spoke on the phone just 2 days ago. So that was really the first time anyone had ever pulled me aside and did that Jesus to Peter discipling with me. Could you imagine what your ministry and what your life would look like if you were able to disciple even just one? Now, some of you are going to be able to do 2 or 3, and I'd recommend don't do more than 3. Do it the Jesus way. Jesus had an inner circle of 3. Are there 3 people out of your group that you could walk with more intently than you do the rest of the group? And I'm not saying to be unfair, but the truth is not everyone is going to be able to be a leader. And as we did with our object lesson, I pulled out the sand and I had the different size cards we were pouring sand onto. If we're going to reach more people, if we're going to be obedient to the mission and the vision that God's given our church, and we're praying that one day thousands of worshipers would be here on our campus, we have to raise up more leaders. Well, how do we do that? Start identifying the men and women in your group that you see potential in, and go ahead and have an I see in you conversation. Think about how powerful that moment is in your own life. A time where a mentor, or a leader, or a teacher, or a pastor, perhaps maybe one of you have already done that, and you powerfully impacted that person's life. And all that is you pull them to the side. And it doesn't have to be weird or creepy, but you just have an honest conversation with them. And you say, hey, listen, Matt, I see in you someone who could be a small group leader in the future. I see in you someone who God can use to do bigger things than he's doing right now. Cast a little vision into their life. There's only a handful of people that did that to me in my life. And I can tell you that I've never forgotten those people. I've never forgotten that conversation. And each one of those dramatically catapulted me forward in my spiritual walk. I can still remember being 16 years old and talking with a youth leader, not a pastor, not a deacon, not someone who's been to seminary or been educated, just a regular youth worker that was giving up his Wednesday nights to spend time with a bunch of teenage punks like me. And him pulling me to the side one day and asking me about where am I going to college, what am I planning on studying, and as I'm kind of sharing this angsty feeling I'm having about, well, I'm going to study music, but man, I really can't stop thinking about going into ministry, him taking the time to say, Matt, you ought to lean into that a little bit. It's very rare that someone has a desire to go into ministry that's not being prompted by God. And he had this I see in you conversation that I'll just never forget. The guy's name was Jeremy Hall. And that was a powerful moment that ultimately led to a series of other moments where I finally surrendered to the call to go into ministry. It would be a tragedy if we had people come in our groups and you saw amazing things in them, and leadership qualities, and servants' hearts, and just characteristics that you can just sense God's going to have more for that person. It'd be the greatest tragedy for us to be silent and never say anything to them, never encourage them. What would it look like if you saw discipleship as going beyond what we do in our groups and in our classes? How could God transform the leadership of our church if there's about 40 of us that are group leaders? What if 40 of us even just discipled one? Not 3. I know you're busy. What if we discipled just one? And let's say you took a year to do it, okay? A year from now, then we have 80 people that are ready and trained to disciple others. Now, are all 40 of those going to be able to be small group leaders? Maybe not. But what if just half were? What if just we added 20 more small group leaders because of intentional discipleship a year from now? And then we have 60 people leading groups at Hickory Grove. See what the chain reaction that happens when you start building your leadership base and you open your church up and you have people making intentional connections with one another. That's when growth starts happening on an exponential level. So I want you to consider that. Who is God calling you to do? And here we'll finish with this thought. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, 10 through 12 says, you are witnesses, and so is God, how devoutly and uprightly and blamelessly we have behaved towards you believers. Just as you know, we were exhorting and encouraging and imploring each one of you as a father would his own children, so that you would walk in a manner worthy of the God who calls you into his own kingdom and glory. So Paul lays it right out there. A disciple maker should be encouraging, comforting, and imploring. You should be encouraging people to growth. You should be comforting them as they fail. And you should implore them to go on to do more. This is why I gave you the 5 stages of spiritual development. When you create that relationship with someone, you need to be able to adequately assess where they are spiritually. You need to encourage them where they are, encourage what they're doing well. You need to comfort them in their failures, because they will, as we all do. And you need to implore them to take next steps. Now, I know I haven't corporately taught on the 4 spheres yet, so let me make it really, really, really simple for you. Because some of you are saying, well, how do I do that? Just take the fruits of the Spirit. right? Like just go back to the most basic Galatians 5 teaching: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. What if you just took the fruits of the Spirit and you encouraged them, you comforted them, and you implored them to go deeper into each one of those fruits of the Spirit? It's going to take you leading them. Hey, how's your marriage right now? It's not that good. My husband's driving me nuts. All right, tell me about that. And then encourage them to build in that marriage and to pour into that marriage in ways that they never had before, to be more patient with their spouse, to show more faithfulness to their spouse, to be more kind to them. You see how that works? Hey, how's your job going? My boss is an idiot. Oh yeah, tell me about that. Yeah, he doesn't like any of my ideas. He's just an idiot. This is the worst job ever. Start prodding a little bit. Man, yeah, but isn't it great to have a means to provide for your family? Man, isn't God so good to us? And look for areas and ways to lead them into growing in love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. Go through the fruits of the Spirit with them if you don't know how to do anything else. All right, seeing that this video is at 27 minutes, for sure I'm going to split this into 2 segments. I may have to edit this a little bit. Hey, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this series. I hope this is helpful for you. I hope you'll start considering, how can we lead beyond the churchocentric way? Who is God calling you to lead? And consider, what would our church look like if all 40 of us raised up 1 or 2 or 3 new disciples in the next couple years? It would be exciting and incredible to watch what God's going to do. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon.